Holy hero talk, Batman. Deadpool earns Wolverine a hard R. Batman v Superman drops an epic final trailer. Supergirl crossing over with The Flash in March. All this and so much more. So hang on to your capes. You just joined Super Geeks. All right. That was cool. Well, welcome to the first episode of Super Geeks. I'm George, and with me today is the lovely Chelle.
Hi there.
And Anthony.
All right.
Guys, we're going to do things a little bit different on this show. Let me ask, where can people find you guys on social media? We're going to do this in the beginning.
People can follow me on Twitter at Michelle LHS.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Anthony Battles.
You can follow me in a lot of different places, but I'll just say Twitter, Chooch99A. George is my name, and I do a few other shows too. But today we're focusing on our new show because there's a very not neglected topic out there that I find is oddly not getting enough podcast attention. That's the superhero genre. There's only a billion shows out there to talk about and things coming in the movies and just a lot of stuff. So I figured, you know what? We need to start. Someone has to start talking about this stuff.
And why not us?
And why not us? We're going to have different hosts some weeks just because we're going to want to get other people's points of views. And we have a lot of friends that want to talk, but not everybody's always available because of busy schedules. So today for our first episode, you got kind of lucky. You got three of the best people out there.
Well, let's ask the crowd. Do you guys want to talk about superheroes? I think that's a resounding yes. What do you think?
I do.
Yep, we're going to talk about superheroes.
Batman approves. All right. Well, there's a lot of news that dropped over the last year, but most recently, one of the biggest topics that's come out is about obviously the merc with the mouth, Deadpool. Finally, after 11 years, Ryan Reynolds gets his baby project out there. Deadpool, huge success, pretty much the best R-rated movie opening for a movie in history, even non-superheroes from what I've heard. But this has led to things like X-Force. They're talking about making that movie finally as an R-rated movie. They're talking about taking a chance and just finally giving Wolverine his final movie at rated R. That's actually been confirmed as of, I believe, today or yesterday.
I think that would be fantastic. Wolverine, he always felt really held back as far as the comic books. He was always more cutting edge or, always on the edge of controversy. And he was really toned down for his movies and the X-Men movies. So that's really exciting.
The blood, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Wolverine is supposed to be vicious.
He is.
And we don't see that too much in the movies.
I totally agree. I'm not like a huge... I like DC better than Marvel, but I do like certain pockets of Marvel. And Wolverine is definitely one of them. I know my girlfriend likes the Wolverine movies. Her parents like the Wolverine movies. So he's got his own audience. And Hugh Jackman's just an incredible... he's going out with one more movie. Why not give him his R for that final movie? I think that's going to be incredibly awesome.
So just to give you a heads up on Deadpool, on his opening weekend. So when Batman came out, the opening weekend, it was $48 million, right?
Right.
Iron Man had $98 million.
Wait, which Batman are you talking about?
This one, the one with Michael Keaton.
Okay, the first one in '89.
First one, right? Because there was like 2,900 Batmans.
Yeah.
All right, so, and then, Iron Man, and then even Thor, as recent as Thor, $65 million, and even Wolverine only made $85 million. The two closest was The Amazing Spider-Man at $114 million, and the Superman with Henry Cavill, right, at $116 million. Those were Deadpool, $134 million in the opening weekend.
And it's still going to be going. We'll see how long.
And that's just the opening weekend. That's pretty darn good, don't you think? You know what's funny is when it came out, people went and watched it and they were raving about it. I waited till Sunday morning. I saw it Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and that theater was packed.
Was it?
Well,
It was packed.
and the
Yeah.
even more monumental thing about that $135 million is most superhero movies are filled with children. And yes, there were some children who, unfortunately, their parents took them and they shouldn't
Oh my
have.
God, you just brought up a
Yeah.
great
But
subject because
well,
I've had to.
but
Go ahead.
that's the thing. This was almost all adults. If there had been, children, it would have been probably more like
There were
200
families in
million.
the theater when I was
There were,
there.
but
And they
not
were,
Yeah.
like
and they were either
normal.
people that either didn't give a darn about whether their kids saw what they saw or weren't aware, which is probably more the case.
Most
The unaware parents who weren't sure what they were walking into, they just assumed, hey, it's a superhero
superhero
movie.
movie.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Most people are not that familiar with Deadpool.
well they are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
and,
But
but that's
yeah.
the thing is that they there's going to be some controversy from the parents who were not expecting what ended up happening in that movie, or and like I said, or didn't care and figured, well, we'll make the kid happy in hopes that they forget about the sex and the swearing and the blood. But I haven't actually seen it yet. I mean, I watched. I mean, I'm going to see it. I just haven't been able to get to a theater yet because I have no car at the moment. But I definitely, I was sort of a Deadpool fan, but not enough to say that I was obsessed with him. I remember back when Champions Online came out on as an MMO. When I went into the game, there were so many. This was a few years ago. There were so many Deadpool clones that Cryptic, and this is a true story. You can check the facts on this. Cryptic had just come out of. They were the ones that make Star Trek Online. They made Champions Online. They had just come out of a lawsuit with Marvel, and at the end, because there were so many people creating clones of their characters in Heroes City of Heroes. So at the end of the lawsuit, what ended up happening was Star Trek Online exists because of this lawsuit. The engine Marvel ended up not only settling, but they said, you know what, we were silly for arguing about this because you were only promoting our characters. So they actually approached Cryptic and had them create an engine for what would have become Marvel Online, and they ended up looking at their projections and saying, we don't want this game anymore. But they let Marvel keep the engine. I mean, Cryptic keep the engine, and they use that to create both Champions and Star Trek Online. Well, the reason I bring that up is because when I started playing Champions, there were Deadpool clones everywhere, and they were nervous about Marvel suing them again, and they ended up actually putting out sort of virtual warrants on people to report the players who were making these Deadpool clones, and they put out these little restrictions. They said, "Here's the copyright thing. If you can look like Deadpool, but if you actually associate the name with the look, then you have to report them, and there's going to be a problem." So they were having a real problem because the character was so popular, and this was like 5 or 6 years ago. Let alone now after the movies come out, the character is phenomenally popular. But he's one of those characters, like you guys said, hardly anybody actually knows about him outside of the people who read the comics.
Outside of that genre, yeah. What's been hilarious is he has been getting really popular in recent years. One of the fun games, it's like a little inside joke, I guess, among con-goers, is you go and count the Deadpools. Like every time I go to a con,
Oh, that's funny.
I like tweet. I either tweet out or put on Facebook, the daily Deadpool count. And every time I go to one, it's growing. It's going to just explode this year, because Deadpool is really becoming more mainstream, which is cool. But then again, I don't know if it takes away from the character or not. I don't know. I'm still on the fence
I don't
about
think
that.
you can because he's a fourth wall breaker anyways, and that's the beauty of the whole thing is
Yeah, you're not going to take away from the
no,
character because
it would be
there's
very
there's
hard.
like 900 Batmans walking around. There's a
Yeah.
True,
guy.
but when you saturate, I don't know. I just don't know if it's as I don't mean take away, like make him not cool. It's just like when there's 1,000 Batmans, when I see, I'm like, oh look, another Batman costume, another Doctor
Yeah,
Who or
but that
whatever.
doesn't take away from the Batman the movie.
No, not from the movie, but from the whole experience of what I'm talking about is at conventions and stuff, Anthony.
Oh, you know what? Cosplayers are gonna embrace the characters they love, and just so they know going in there. The thing there's certain characters who have multiple versions of their costume. For example, like Wolverine has his yellow
Mm-hmm.
costume that you've never actually seen in the movies because it looks better than they realize. They made the leather version with Hugh Jackman, and then there's the brown suit Wolverine. There's like a lot of different associated costumes with Actually, even with Batman, like he's got the gray
Mhm.
suit like he's in the new movies, where he's always had a black rubbery suit like he never had in the old movies. Well, with Deadpool, they started him right off exactly, almost verbatim the way he was in the comics, which that alone impressed the fans. Even the white eyes, you know, Batman and all those other comics, you don't actually see their eyes half the time. They use the classic white thing there. He did that. They made that part of the costume, and I was impressed by that alone, just the white eyes, because it's, you know, makes it harder for them to see, but yet it's actually accurate to the way he looks in the comics. So they got it down to an exact science. So he started out looking right, but Deadpool's never deviated from that costume. So yeah, you're gonna see people that look exactly like him if they want to interpret the character a certain way.
Well,
So
I think it is cool. I do like Deadpool. He's not my favorite. I actually am
he's not my
more
favorite either.
Marvel
He's funny though.
for Wolverine, but more just X-Men in general. But I'd like Wolverine by himself too.
Now I haven't seen the movie, but I've got to say, from what I've seen, there, and people keep raving about this. Colossus is pretty awesome. Their interpretation of him, because I used to read the X-Men growing up, and damn, they nailed him. He got a lot more. You know what they said also in the interviews? They wanted to add the X-Men there were so many X-Men saturated in the earlier movies that they didn't get their enough attention because there was too many of them that they threw out there, and they could only focus on certain ones. So they wanted to pull out a couple of X-Men that were there but barely got any screen time, so that they could focus on them to make up for that.
Yeah, well, they got plenty of screen time during this movie.
That's what I've seen in the
Yeah.
clips. And who Angel Dust? What was the name? What was the name of that hero? Was that Jubilee, or who was that girl? The one that was tweeting
Oh God,
in,
I don't know.
I can't
She was
remember
just
which
some
X-Men.
short hair, moody
Yeah.
teenager.
Well, at least she wore the accurate costume. I thought that was cute. I mean, you
Hmm.
know. Anyways, enough about Deadpool. But Ryan Reynolds, I'm just happy for Ryan Reynolds because he made up for Green Lantern. You know.
Well, let me give you a little history on Ryan Reynolds. So, he came from humble beginnings from a working class family in Canada. His sudden rise to fame, the all is lost moment of Scarlett Johansson when she got divorced. She divorced him while the
I
Green
forgot they were
Lantern.
married. That's right.
Yeah,
He's married to Blake Lively now. He was
he
in Green Lantern with
engaged.
her.
Yeah, they got engaged in 2004, and then when he was doing that Green Lantern, they got divorced, and the movie tanked, right?
She probably divorced him because of the movie.
And then in
Or
his
because
dark,
of Blake Lively.
probably,
Oh, that could be it
and then
too.
in his darkest hour, he pulled all of his strength and resources, was able to finally get a Deadpool movie off the ground. Everyone doubted him. He wasn't given much of a budget, and he wound up delivering a record-breaking box office hit. Think about that.
He's great in interviews, but he's so humble, but he's so funny too. Actually, this is why Deadpool worked. He has a natural comedic timing. If you watch him in interviews, I mean, you can tell like he improvises very well. He's good at comedy, and that translated
Hmm.
over really well. He even talked about how he had never read the comics growing up, but he had been hearing over the years many times how you would be perfect for Deadpool, and he was like, "What is this Deadpool that people keep talking about?" And then finally, someone gave him one of the graphic novels that was a collection of all the comics, and he was hooked the minute he started reading it. In
Yeah.
fact, in the first comic he read, Deadpool talks about how I would love if Ryan Reynolds played me in a movie, and it actually was it was actually something that was said in the comic, and he thought that was destiny.
Nice.
That's
All
pretty
right,
funny.
well yeah, I mean, I'm
Well, he
really
took a shot and it worked for him. So
it did.
congrats to Ryan Reynolds. Congrats to Deadpool. If you have
Bef-
not seen the movie, I do recommend you go out and watch it.
Before we end this subject, though, it needs to
Hmm.
be said about how everybody's talking about how Deadpool paved the way for new rated R movies.
Oh yes, I know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
This is not true. I mean, yes, for current audiences, it is fantastic, and it is, not to take away from Deadpool, but it's actually not the first superhero rated R movie. In 1998, Blade was rated R. It was way before its time, and Blade was a really good movie. It may have not made nearly the money that it made, but it absolutely was the first
Let me ask you
superhero
a question.
movie.
I don't know if you know the answer to this because of when we started bringing this up earlier to talk about it. I think what killed that and made them look back at saying, "See, this isn't how it works out," is they didn't go beyond Blade Trinity because the franchise ended up going downhill. So was Blade Trinity also rated R, or did they go to PG-13? Do you know?
I can look that up. I do
Okay,
not
because
know
I'm
offhand.
thinking I know the first Blade was a success, but the second and third one, and the third one especially, and which ironically had Ryan Reynolds as one of the three leads.
Mhm.
I don't remember his character's name, but he was there with
All,
him and.
all three Blade movies were rated R.
Okay, so I'm wondering if the studios looked at the final results of the third movie as not a sustained good enough number to risk it for when they invest in future movies.
I think. Well, the thing is Deadpool wasn't advertised to kids and families, but right now superhero movies are all the rage. I mean, in the last 5 years, they've just blown up. Guardians of the Galaxy is, I think it's still setting records and crap, even though it's in DVD sales now for like a year, isn't it? I'm
And
pretty
they
sure it
already
is.
casted for the next movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
And
I
the
mean,
anti-hero genre too, like Blade. Blade wasn't a traditional. He wasn't like a
no, but
normal
he
superhero.
was, well, neither is Deadpool, and that's the whole
Right.
point,
The
is that's what's
anti-hero is what I'm
popular.
saying.
But it was before its time because it was more cutting edge. It was darker and, deeper. But the thing is movies like that were really popular because if you think about it, it was pretty popular at the same time as like the Underworld movies. And they were rated R as well. But
Actually, no.
people, yeah, they
Underworld
are.
wasn't rated R.
Yeah, it is. I'm
Was it?
looking at it right now. I looked it up before I said it
I
just to
never
make
realized.
sure, just to make sure I
Oh,
wasn't
when I think
lying.
about number two, I suppose yeah, it was.
So Underworld really, yeah, and so that's what I mean. In that time period, in the late '90s, early 2000s, there was a lot of movies like that, and there was comic books of Underworld afterwards. I don't think it was beforehand, but there definitely was after. It was written by comic book writers,
No,
and
Underworld came. Yeah, the comics came after.
yeah. So there was this thing. It just wasn't as mainstream. It still made a lot of money. Like Blade had what it was rated like over 7 out of 10. I mean, it was good movies. It's just it wasn't as mainstream, and so now it is.
This was also back when Marvel wasn't owned by Disney, and I'm wondering if that had a lot to do with it too. Disney and ABC have a tendency to believe.
Over market.
Well, not just that. I'm going to go to an example for the show Alias with Jennifer Garner. The reason I bring that up is because there was a time when their ratings dipped. A lot of shows back when that came out would have bailed. The sponsors would have bailed because if the ratings go down, even if there's a good reason for it, like they're up against the Super Bowl or something like that, they don't forgive for that. If the ratings dip enough, everybody bails out and they get canceled. It used to happen a lot on Fox. That's why I didn't. That's the whole reason why I don't watch Gotham, which is a show we could talk about on this show, but I never watch it, so I'm not going to unless you guys want to. Because the reason why is I don't have any faith in Fox as far as keeping the show going. I believe you're going to get sucked into it, and the next thing you know, it's going to get canceled just because they have one bad day. And because Fox has a history of doing that. And so, because they did that with shows like Birds of
Family
Prey,
Guy.
Family Guy, because Fox, they're whoever their sponsors are, or the people who invest in the show, they're very like worried. They're very panicky. But ABC and Disney, they actually instead of bailing on a show that they believe in, will actually promote and put money into a marketing strategy to get renewed interest and save their shows before they give up on them. They did that with Alias in season 4, I believe. It was everybody was giving up on it, and they invested a lot of money to a new marketing campaign, and it saved the show for at least 2 more seasons. And so that's the reason why I'm wondering if that's what happened when Marvel was not owned by Disney. Like if when Blade 3, if it had been owned by Disney, I think either the Disney people would have been smart enough to either invest more money in a better strategy for continuing it if they believed in the franchise, or not. But because Blade was at the time wasn't owned by Disney, I'm wondering if that contributed to how quickly they just bailed on the whole thing.
I don't know if it was that or if it was just more that, I mean, the series had played out. There wasn't, I mean, there were three Blade movies at a time where most people still today, even if they've seen the movies, may not even realize that Blade is a Marvel comic. So I just
Yeah,
think that
he was, and yeah,
its
that's true.
series had played out. It had a lot of fans. It probably brought more fans into the comics. Um, but I'm kind of excited at the prospect of a Blade reboot.
Well, I've heard different stories. I've heard they might bring him into the into the Netflix universe. I've also heard they might just start a new. They're talking about bringing Wesley back, not just starting with some new guy. Um, I'm not sure whether that's a good idea or not, but I suppose it could work.
It depends on if they're trying to make a whole new franchise. I mean,
Yeah,
Blade is a vampire. This
he's a
is, you know,
dampier. He's a
20
dampier.
years.
He's half
Well,
human.
but still, 20 years later, Wesley Snipes looks substantially older. Blade shouldn't.
Well, he's a dampier. Like I said, he's half
He
vampire, so there is
still
some.
he still
Yeah,
shouldn't look like he's 60 years
they had a
old.
short-lived TBS TV show too. I don't know if you guys ever saw that.
I
See,
didn't.
the
That's
reason why
exciting.
Blade can fit into Netflix is because he's associated with Moon Knight, and Moon Knight has been a member of the Defenders, which is a group that they're building up to on this Netflix universe
Hmm.
in Hell's Kitchen there. And so Moon Knight and Blade could conceivably work the way they're doing Punisher. They're not going to give Punisher his own series on Netflix unless of course there's a scream out for it because they don't plan it. But they put him in, and we were gonna talk about that in a different segment of the show, but I kind of segued into it. They're gonna talk. They're gonna Punisher was never meant to be his own show on Netflix, but he's part of the association for what's going on with Daredevil and all of the people in Hell's Kitchen. But so is Moon Knight and Blade. I don't remember if Blade's actually interacted with Daredevil. I think he has, but he definitely interacted with Moon Knight. And since Moon Knight, in retrospect, interacts with Blade in them, I'm wondering if they would try experimenting with bringing Blade into that Netflix universe.
I don't think as a series. I mean, I'm just speculating. I don't think as a series, but possibly as like a, just a
Experimental.
guest.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, that would be interesting to see how, I guess they could weigh the fan base that way.
that's true. It could work. Now, anybody else have anything else to say before we switch subjects about that? What we just talked
Well,
about?
I actually do have one more. I'm so
Sure,
sorry.
go ahead.
What are your, do you think that the fact that Marvel is shifting now, or superhero movies in general, the genre is shifting more to adults, like when we saw AKA Jessica Jones, or I know we haven't talked about those yet on Netflix,
Oh, we're on the subject. Might as well. Go ahead.
with Deadpool and Daredevil and all that being darker, and now the new Wolverine movie is going to be rated R. So it's definitely shifting more to adult. But there are going to be parents who, like we said before, don't bother to police their children, so
What
there's going to be
parents have to
children
be
more.
aware of, in my opinion, and you bring up a great point, is it's not so much that it's shifting. It's that there are kids that grew up with all these superhero shows, and they don't, and there's a lot of parents who don't realize those kids became fans, and then they started writing comics. Jessica Jones was based off a comic called Alias. Now, it was part of a, I forget the name of it. Marvel had a separate branch. Ah, geez, I can't remember the name of it, but it's an adult. It's their adult Vertigo. No, Vertigo's DC. Marvel has a separate line that's for adults, but it's technically connected to their mainstream Marvel universe. Jessica Jones was introduced as a character, as a retcon character, and what I mean by that is when they did the miniseries Alias, is what it was called. No connection to that show by J.J. Abrams. It was AKA, Jessica Jones was a character who was retconned into the Marvel Universe as having always known Spider-Man, for example. Went to school with Peter Parker. She even dated him a few times. And she knew, and they did this backstory where they did a flashback story, everything that the Purple Man Kilgrave did to her. Her best friend is Miss Marvel. Now, this doesn't happen on the Netflix show, but in the comics, her best friend still is and was Miss Marvel, who was coming to the Marvel Universe in the movies later on in, I think, 2020. She's going to be their version of Wonder Woman, like the main Superwoman character that they're going to use as their headline's powerful character. But Jessica Jones and her were best friends, and all this stuff happened to her, and it's a survivor story with a rape survivor thing in a superhero format, and she ends up getting with Luke Cage, and they have a child. That's not a spoiler because we don't know if it's going to actually happen on the Netflix version of it. That's just what happened in the comics. So there's a lot of drama and stuff that happened, and I don't know what they have planned, but What I'm trying to say is the people that grew up reading and watching Marvel comics have been around for over 80 years, and I mean since World War One, World War Two, and they became writers of comics, and they made them for adults too, because they know that the fans who grew up, and they're not going to want to read stuff that's for kids, but they love the characters in that universe. So what parents have to realize out there, I don't know how they can get it across to parents, and except just to make a ratings thing or a warning, is that there is a just because something's based on a comic book doesn't mean it's for kids. You have to be aware that this is a medium all to its own.
Well, that's true. You got to think of things like the Flintstones. That was actually an adult cartoon. It was not designed for children. It was for adults. Flintstones came back out when I was a little baby. I was single digit, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you have The Simpsons.
Oh,
Now
oh,
you
good
have
example. The
Family Guy.
Simpsons. Yep.
These are all cartoons, but they're all adult cartoons. They're not
That's a
made
good
for
example.
children.
But
Those
a
are good
lot of
examples.
those, since they're on mainstream, they have things that you think about as an adult that you don't necessarily as a child. But a lot of these comic books and these new comic book movies are really just too much for children. Like you saw Deadpool, Anthony. If somebody took their 10-year-old there, their 10-year-old, for the most part, a 10-year-old is not able to handle that movie. And parents need to
Well, I'm
actually
going to
have to
be
start.
honest with you. I get what you're saying, and what you're
Well,
saying
no,
is
I'm saying is
absolutely right.
parents need to start being parents and pay
Well,
attention to this
yeah.
stuff and not allow the media to be their parents and be shocked when there's a movie come out and they
Well, if
storm
you
out there's
take
a
a
Twitter storm,
child to a rated R movie,
I
you
right?
think
should not
that's
be
I think that
shocked
I think
That
at
that's what
is a
it
anything
boils
that's
down
on the
to is you got
screen,
to
number
pay attention.
one.
There's a rating for a reason.
there's a
They got to.
crazy
Right.
yeah, there's a crazy Twitter storm right now about people, parents being outraged and storming out of the movies with their 10-year-olds or whatever,
Well, you
even
know
You
though
know
what?
what?
These
they're
10-year-olds
Yeah.
idiots.
hear worse at school
That's
than
Yeah,
they
true.
but
do
that's
at the
not the
movie
issue. They're not
theater.
paying attention to what the rating is. That's the bottom line. They're not paying attention to what the rating is. If it's rated R, there's a reason for it. You
You're
know?
right.
I mean, it's their disclaimer. If the parents are upset, that's too bad. Here's a true story. Deadpool almost got an NC-17 rating. Came very close.
Wow.
Actually, I don't know if that's true. That's a rumor.
I don't think that's true, man. I
It's a
mean,
rumor.
I watched the movie, and there's a lot of inferences and
Yeah, but
innuendos, but
I'm going to say
come
one
on.
word because I'm going to keep it clean for this podcast for our possible syndicators in the future. But there's one, I know I haven't seen the movie, but there's one word I'm going to use that should kind of sum up why it came on that fence: pegging.
So
Okay.
moving on.
So yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that there's an
Moving
audience
on.
for adults and there's an audience for kids for anything, whether it's
Yeah, but
superheroes, Star
I'm not
Wars.
gonna go around judging parents who take their kids to a rated R movie. That's a decision they made that may work for
This is what
them.
they call a hard R, though. But I
You
guess
know,
they should have defined that because there's R-rated movies that don't go as far as what I've heard. Deadpool
I
does.
don't know where you're getting that information, but the bottom line is there were families at the movie. Okay, there was young kids wearing Deadpool shirts coming in with their parents and
Mommy,
watching the
what's
movie
pegging?
together. So go figure.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So yeah, so there is a with the net good example with the Jessica Jones and the concerns about that. Even Daredevil, from what I've seen of the trailer. Speaking of which, might as well talk about that now.
I sort of want to talk about Daredevil.
Yeah, I was going to say this is a good segue into that. A little out of order, but who cares about show notes? You know who I'm talking to out there.
Anyway.
Anyways,
Let's
so
go back.
to the show notes. That's a private joke, audience. We're not being serious. So, anyways,
Goodness.
Netflix Daredevil season 2 trailer. I personally am very aware of the Punisher Frank Castle character. I don't know about you guys. What is this? What do you think of what you saw?
Um,
And Elektra.
I'm not
Okay,
gonna
so
really talk about. I want to talk more about last season before I get into the
All
trailer.
right,
So,
sure.
all right, I loved it how it all began. You got this guy. He's blind, right? And he uses all his senses. I mean, dude can fight, right? And then he gets beat up. He goes to work. He's what is he? A lawyer? He's a lawyer,
Yeah.
right?
yes, he's a lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, a very poor one at it. It's just him and the girl, right? I call her Baby Vampire because she was on True Blood.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but that's who she was. She was Baby
Yes.
Vampire. How many times did that girl get abducted
I don't know. I didn't watch the
during
show.
the first season? I mean, it was like every other episode she was getting abducted, right?
And the Punisher guys from Walking Dead. I never watched that show either. So
and he didn't have his costume. The whole first season, he didn't have a costume.
Till the very end. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
impressive, actually.
so that's what I liked about it. This is before he became Daredevil.
Yeah,
But
it was
there
like
was
the roots of Daredevil.
Well, they did the slow
right.
build up to him becoming Daredevil, and then he finally gets his costume. At first, I was annoyed by it because he's wearing a friggin' half stocking on his head as his costume, and I'm like,
I know, and nobody can pick him out of the crowd. Is like, hey, aren't you that lawyer dude?
hey, they're probably like, how can you see? And he's like, because I'm blind. He doesn't
Because
know.
I'm blind, idiot. Yeah, exactly.
No, but that was kind of cool. And then finally, it paid off when he got his costume was not only there, but it looked good.
You know what gets me is a lot of the people were really upset that he didn't wear his costume until the end of season 1.
But they did a good job at how they built up to it.
Yeah, and then a lot of fans were let down with the way the suit looked. I mean, really? I mean, does it have to be exactly the way the comics portray it?
It's pretty accurate.
It is pretty accurate. So why are people upset?
I agree with not fans. I agree with you guys because it was building up. It showed the stages of how he got to be Deadpool, how he just was Daredevil, sorry. How he was just starting out, he needed to get that aggression out and how it evolved into him becoming a superhero and how he got the costume, the guy who hooked him up because he, threatened him and because he had been making suits for the bad guys and everything. It was really good evolution of that. And you saw that in the Superman reboot movie, 4 years ago, how he got the different stages of his costume. I think
Man of Steel?
Spider-Man, sorry.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Okay. I was going to say, he only got his costume once in the Man of Steel.
Spider-Man. So, no, but they showed
that's an analogy with his wrestling outfit. Yep.
Well, and they showed in Supergirl recently the evolution of, trying the different parts and stuff like that in one little comic scene. It was funny. So, I mean, I think it was interesting to see how he evolved into becoming Daredevil.
Right. And I love that build-up. It was well written. The characters you could totally get into and follow them, and it was really well written.
Since we're talking about the Netflix universe, anyways, and we were going to talk about this.
I'm not done with Daredevil.
All right.
A big letdown for me was that Jason Statham was supposed to play Bullseye, but he's not going to play that.
He's not big enough.
Yeah,
he's not fat enough.
He's going to be the nemesis Bullseye.
Yeah, but Bullseye. Oh, Bullseye. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Kingpin.
No. Yeah,
he would have been a good Bullseye.
Oh yeah. Hello.
He's still
Jason Statham would have been.
Yeah.
Well, if they do recreate the Elektra death and resurrection thing, like the comic and the movies, they could still bring him in. Remind me, was he? Did they put Bullseye in the Netflix thing?
What are you talking about?
Bullseye. I don't remember if he was in it.
Yeah, but it's going to be a good season. I don't. I'm the type of person that doesn't have a lot of expectations. So I already saw the first season. I was impressed. I was happy with it. I'm not going to sit there and like, well, they better do that or I'll be upset. I'm not going to do that. I want to see how the direction they're going to go with Daredevil. Now that he's in the suit, right? We have established characters, and now they're going to bring in a new nemesis. So, and then we'll see how that develops. I'm actually excited for it.
You know what's interesting is I wouldn't call Punisher a nemesis. I'd call him a protagonist.
Why would you say that?
No. I'm sorry, an antagonist, because he's not his enemy. It's just they conflict. There's a difference. Kingpin is an enemy. He's a nemesis. Punisher is an anti-hero who he actually respects Daredevil to a degree, and he also respected Spider-Man and Captain America the most. In the comics, Captain America beat the crap out of him during the Civil War story because Punisher, like he says in the trailer, finishes the job, and every true hero in the Marvel Universe does not agree with that, but that's the thing about Punisher with Frank Castle. He does respect almost all of the heroes in the Marvel Universe. He respects Captain America. He respects Daredevil. He just thinks they don't go far enough. He gets tired of the whole. He gets tired of the whole. You let them live, and they come back to do this, and
or get away. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't, as he said in the trailer, you don't finish the job. So you're
Now, the guy that's playing Punisher is what? Jonathan Berthenol? How do you
it's
say his last name?
he was from Walking Dead. I don't
Yeah, he
remember
was from
his.
The Walking Dead, but yeah.
Yeah,
So he landed a good role, and
yeah.
he's a good character to play Punisher. So
I'm very curious as to how they're gonna make him. So far he's very accurate to his role in the comics and his role in the Marvel universe. I'm curious as to how they're gonna play it out.
did you see the video for that? The teaser for season 2 with the Punisher.
Yeah,
That
that's
video was
I
all
linked it.
about the Punisher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I linked it to you guys earlier.
Well, you're not supposed to say that over the air,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jordan.
Yes, I saw it.
Oh, okay. And what did you think about the video?
I thought it was awesome. I've been
Oh
quoting
yeah, I
from it,
linked it to you guys.
but I've been quoting from
Come
it.
on,
You're
you
not.
know.
I said as he said in the video, and you didn't catch that part. So, anyways, yes, he said stuff like "you're a half measure," "you don't finish the job," and then he says, and I love this line: "You're only one bad day from being me."
Nice.
I absolutely love the writing. See, that's the thing. I've gotten to the point where I respect if I hear good lines, I can tell that there's good writers behind it. I will get more excited than I am with just what I see. It's the
Now,
wordsmithing.
with your excitement on a show that's coming out, do you set expectations, or are you just excited to see it without expectation?
It's about trust. You got to go by this. Everything we've seen from Marvel, for example, so far, Kevin Feige and all the people doing Captain America movies and all the others, I have yet to see a bad one, right? So they've got a good plan. They've got a good. There's always possibility they're gonna have one bad thing roll out. They haven't in like the last 10 years. They have not had a bad movie. So I mean, when you go back to the first Thor, when you go back to the first Iron Man, since the new Marvel universe rebooted and became a continuous thing where they connect them all together in a shared universe, I can't think of one of them that was bad. Maybe some of them weren't as good as others, but I can't think of any of them that was the word
Right,
bad,
right.
right? So
um,
they've infused us with a lot of trust. If you can't trust it at this point, I don't know what to say. Netflix has done an outstanding job too. They obviously weren't going to let them do this unless they had looked at it and said, "You guys got something good. We're going to give you the official light to make it part of our universe, even though it's your own little microcosm." So when you see a good trailer like this, I'm not just going to say, "Well, the trailer looks good, but we'll see how the show is." They haven't had a bad thing put out yet. When the first Daredevil season came out, there was nothing but universal praise for that. When the Jessica Jones came out, the only reason it was controversial is because of the dark tone. That was the only reason.
I didn't see no controversy in
Oh,
Jessica Jones.
there
I
is.
like
There's a
the dark.
lot of people who.
That girl had the best
No, I'm talking about from
resting
the
bitchy
people on
face out of any
Facebook and
woman I've
social
seen ever.
media because the reason it causes diversity is because of the subject matter. There's people that are sensitive to the
Oh,
rape
yeah. Well, then they
thing,
don't, and no
you
one's
know.
forcing them to watch the show. I
Exactly.
love Jessica
But
Jones.
that's why there's controversy. Daredevil's just straight out like, the way overcoming diversity superhero stuff. Jessica Jones gets into some darker themes, but that's the only reason there is diversity. Otherwise, what I'm trying to say is there's trust. So when I see this trailer, and I can already go by their history of how well they've handled the Marvel properties, there's no reason to even doubt them right now until they prove me wrong, until they hit a dud. But they haven't done it yet in like 10 years, in my opinion.
Shell, did you watch Jessica Jones? I'll take that as a no. But man, I loved Jessica Jones when it
I do
came
too.
out. Kristen Ritter.
sorry, were you
We were,
talking to me? I was having
Yeah,
issues.
he was asking if
we
you've
were,
seen Jessica
yeah. I
Jones.
was asking you if you've watched Jessica Jones.
I apologize. I was having like real weird Skyping issues for a second. I thought I'd heard my name. I did. I watched AK Jessica Jones like the day it came out because I'm a huge David Tennant
Mm-hmm.
fan. Um, and it was really, I really liked it. I heard you guys when it first started Skyping talking about some controversies. It did
Only
have there
the
were
dark
no there were
tones.
there were women who said that she marginalized women, that she did fat shaming in, I'm just telling you what Twitter said,
And
that she
people
did
didn't like.
fat shaming in there, that, yeah, that she was, there were people who said she was a bad example of a strong woman. I think
Oh,
that they,
come on.
Well, hold
Really?
on,
That's
telling
hold
you
on.
what
ridiculous.
Twitter says.
There,
She
I think
she
she was
portrayed
fantastic. I think
yeah.
she was fantastic.
Yeah.
I think she played it well. I think that she played it accurately to the way that she was written.
Mhm.
I think that more than her, I think that you couldn't get as far into what Purple Man did, because it wasn't about him, it was about her. But I think that he was fantastic in it. I think Luke was fantastic in it. And it was just it kept me coming back. I like marathoned it more than I normally do Netflix,
the
because
Right.
biggest
I
Right.
controversy I heard wasn't so much about the topic matter, although that was a big one for women who were sensitive about, the whole issue of rape and things like that. Even though it wasn't overtly what happened to her, it was like a suggestion, an inferred thing. It was a form of mental rape, what he did to her. But it wasn't the biggest controversy I heard was that the casting choice of David Tennant, because he was so beloved as a hero, Doctor Who, that putting him in this role is the complete opposite. And that was the complaint. I had the biggest thing I
man,
kept seeing in
Yeah, but you
comments.
can't
he
stare. He's an
nailed
actor.
it.
He's an actor,
I know, but
right?
I kept seeing you ruined my image of David Tennant and
Well,
blah 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 blah. And I'm
screw
like,
them
come
for
on.
that. He was a fantastic villain. He was so evil.
Yeah, I mean,
It
you
was
got
really
LeVar
good.
Burton, right? He was on Reading Rainbow. Oh, children's show, but he was also Kunta Kinte in Roots. Okay, I mean,
Right?
yeah, he's an
Jordy.
actor.
See, that's the thing
Totally
too, is
different roles. You can't
if you have a
stereotype
villain,
a character because you like him in one show.
if you have a villain okay, what is a villain? See, here's the thing. What I find a bit hypocritical of the society out there that watches anything or gets into superhero shows, it's okay to have somebody who's completely like Zoom on Flash, and he kills people, boom, 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 and or people that splatter people's heads open, chops, just goes around butchering people. But you get a character who mind screws with people or does something even suggestive of
Hmm.
rape, and they are somehow perceived as being more evil than a murderer. I have a problem with that.
Uh,
Yeah, but
these
he
are
was a
these are
murderer. He made people kill other people.
these are
He did.
armchair judges who go
Yeah.
around judging people for
I just
because
am saying, if you
the show
murder
is not
somebody, you're an
meeting
evil
their
monster.
expectations. That's all that was. You got to think of it this way: Jessica Jones. It's a mature story about a survivor and not a
Yes,
victim. She was not a victim.
she wasn't a victim,
She was a
exactly.
survivor, which is the difference. And her whole thing in that first season was to go after, you know, I want to say,
To get her power back.
But it allowed to show her weaknesses and her vulnerable
right.
moments. And
Yes.
that was what was empowering about her, because she absolutely had all these vices and she had all these weaknesses, but she
Yeah.
did overpower that. And
Yeah.
it was really well done.
But even with her vices and her weaknesses, she embraced it. That's who she was as
And
a
she's a great
person.
actress. Is she?
Yeah.
I could be wrong here, and this is going to sound stupid. I don't remember if I heard this right. Is she the daughter of John Ritter, or is that just the same last name?
Just same last name.
Okay,
Yeah, that's not her.
I thought I heard something about
She
that.
was the girl in Breaking Bad. She was the
Oh, okay.
girlfriend.
Yep. I
Yeah,
only saw parts of
you
that
know
show.
what's funny is I used to be friends with her on Facebook before she realized, hey, I should just have everyone follow me.
That's
So,
funny.
yeah, it was pretty funny. But no, yeah. So great show, great writing, and
And
she's
Luke
not a
Cage is
victim.
coming. And
What's that?
Luke Cage is coming next. They were going to do
Mm-hmm.
Iron Fist first because they two of them. Okay, Nicolas Cage. Here's some trivia. Nicolas Cage, the actor, changed his last name legally to Cage because of this character, Luke Cage. He's a huge fan of Luke Cage, and he also named his son Kal-El because he's a fan of Superman. But this is a fact. Nicolas Cage changed his last name when he became an actor because of this character that we've been seeing in Jessica Jones. Just a little trivia to throw out there.
I thought he changed it because he didn't want to be associated with this famous director, Coppola.
Yeah, Coppola was his last
That was
name.
part of it, but he chose
Because his name
Cage
is
because
Nicholas Coppola.
but he changed his last name to Cage. You're right about why he changed it, but the reason he picked Cage was because of his love for Power Man.
Oh, okay. Well,
Oh, that's cool.
I'll call Nick after the show and find
Give him
out
a
if
call.
that's true.
Give him a call. It's true. It's Kevin
I'll
Smith was
report
talking
back
about it on
to
his
you.
podcast the other day.
I'm like, hey Nick, I heard some trivia about you. I want to make sure this is right.
Yeah, it
Right.
is. It is. If Kevin Smith
I'm
says
like,
it's
no,
true, I
everyone
believe
knows you're poor. I totally get that. You squandered your money, but about your name, Cage.
Uh-huh.
I'm
All right.
kidding.
So getting off a little bit off of the Netflix stuff, which we could go on about this for hours, but I want to talk about some of the other shows that are out there that I know that Shell watches. Well, I'm going to ask you guys. The CW are dominating the airwaves
They are
right
doing
now.
an amazing
They
job.
are kicking some serious butt. And no, I'm going to just say it. They're kicking some serious ass. But I mean, that's not a bad word.
Well, it
Now,
is, but
Supergirl is going to cross over with Flash, and the reason they can do this is because CBS owns both CW and obviously CBS, so they can do this crossover. So I don't know. I know Shell watches the Flash, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'm going to say something. You don't watch Flash currently or keep up with it, do you, Magnum?
No, I probably wait until it's done and then I'll binge
Oh,
watch
okay.
it or something. Yeah.
Well, you should because they've been doing what DC used to do best in their comics, which is the crossovers between Earth. They introduced the multiverse this season. There's Earth 1, there's Earth 2, there's 52 universes, which is why they call it the New 52. And anyways, one of the things they did in not this episode that just aired, but the one before it, was when the Flash crossed. When you're going through to the other universe, the parallel universe, you see visions of all these different
everything.
possible,
Yeah.
of everything that could be. In fact, they canonized the Smallville, which is a show we should talk about sometime. They made that. They showed a clip from Smallville, which means it was an alternate universe officially in the CW continuity. They showed Jonah Hex, who's going to be in an upcoming episode of Legends of Tomorrow, and the big one, they showed Supergirl. So they gave a foreshadowing of what's coming on Supergirl, which means she is an alternate universe. Because people kept wondering, in Supergirl's show, Superman's been around for like 12 years, okay? So why haven't they ever mentioned him on The Flash or Arrow? Well, they kind of answered that question without needing to say a word in the last episode. She's an alternate universe. So obviously the Flash is going to go to her universe or vice versa. And I know that you watch Supergirl, Magnum, at least.
Yes, I do.
So this will be interesting for you. And you know, of course, I don't know if you know, but both Grant Gustin, who plays Flash, he was in Glee with Melissa, whatever you pronounce her last name,
Benoist,
Supergirl. So they're going to kind of have a reunion. They've done promo pictures together, but because they're the same writers,
right. And I saw the photos, so it looks good. Yeah.
So what do you think about this crossover? It's coming next month in March.
Well, I do like all crossovers. So any crossover where you introduce another well-known superhero and they do something together, all it does is legitimize the two characters. Whenever they do a crossover like that, it's not like we need to bring them in to help out this show. That's not. It's excitement for the fans. It's excitement for the fans to see the interaction.
Go ahead, Chelle.
In the last 2 years, they've had 4 Flash Arrow crossovers, including the 2, or no, more than that, 5.
Well, they've had 3, and then they've got a sort of a mini one coming next week because it's just Diggle and the Red Arrow.
Well, there were 3 separate ones. Plus, then there was the 2-part Heroes of Tomorrow.
If you count the pilot of Flash, where Green Arrow cameoed for one scene to give him a pep speech, then that kind of counts as a 4th.
So there's been several, and it's really nice. I mean, if you don't watch both of them, then I guess it's not as important, but it is really cool how they keep the shows consistent, and they keep, like, on the Flash from, I think it was the one last night, where somebody said, who's the best hacker? And they both turned and said, Felicity Smoke. I mean, they just keep, they keep the shows legitimate, and they keep them together.
You know what?
And they keep both episodes or both shows strong that way.
I want to say this, people seem to forget in general. This is not the first time we've had this kind of bliss on TV. Xena Hercules, baby.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I watched that religiously. You know,
they did
Lucy
a great
Lawless,
job back in the 90s of making or was it the early 2000s? I forget. But they did a great job of doing the crossovers in just the right way that he would show up when you least expected it, and they had their own chemistry, and then she would show up in his show or whatever, and they had that continuity with the crossovers. They had their own little shared universe back then, and people forget
Right.
about that. But for fantasy shows, and that's kind of the feeling I get when I'm watching an episode of Flash where when he hangs out with Ollie or anybody. That's the feeling I get, like, hey, it's you again. And then it's just really nice when they do that stuff.
I agree, and I do think it does make the show stronger and helps bridge the audiences.
Yep.
Well, what's funny is when Supergirl came out in October 2015, everyone in my fantasy football league was like, "Oh, that show's gonna, tank and it's
Yeah.
not gonna last." I ripped it into them and I said, "No, if anybody says another thing about Supergirl, I will disown
I
you."
saw the leaked pilot.
Well,
I said, "I love her,"
that they leaked that on purpose too.
So
So I'm
so
not
and
going to
it
feel
is
guilty.
turning out to be a good show.
Oh,
so many
it's got-
people really talked a lot of trash about it because that one little scene, right, when we first met
hmm
Callista Flockhart, had basically it had been leaked, and so then Charlotte Johansson had spoofed it on Saturday Night Live, remember? And everybody
hmm
was
No,
making
I
a
didn't see that.
huge so everybody was making a huge deal out about it, and saying it was just a silly fluff show, and it was ridiculous and just like a little
I have
ripoff of Sex in the City or some crap like that. And it's really proven it's a very good show.
It took, every show needs to get, you got to give them a chance. You can't just judge them by the first two episodes, you know? If I had to give you one gripe, for example, it's going to sound stupid, but her costume having to wear the tights under her skirt, not because I'm like trying to go, oh, well, we need to see some leg. I think it's kind of weird. To me, it feels weird that she's wearing the nylons, but that's a stupid nitpick. But otherwise, the show is just, she as a character and as an actress, they picked the perfect actress, because the one episode I keep sharing with people, with that clip where she goes supernova, as they call it, with Red Tornado, and she takes him out with her heat vision, and she calls upon her worst memories to get her angry. The whole episode had the theme about her getting angry. She did
Right,
did you
right.
see the episode where you know what I'm talking about, where she did the boxing thing where she was punching a car
Yeah.
and James was punching the boxing bag, and so for her, getting out her aggression was to beat the crap out of a car. That was awesome. I mean, the whole theme about using your anger, there was a lot of things you could draw from that.
hmm
And I love the relationship she has with Cat Grant. Heck, we've even used Cat Grant in my other show, Bat Radio, in a little Lois Lane commercial. You mentioned Cat Grant for people who don't know.
Yes.
Right,
But
right.
no, because Cat Grant has been a character who's been around for years. She was in Smallville. She was a ditzy blonde in Smallville. She was in Lois and Clark. She was played by the girl who played the captain on Babylon 5, Tracy Scoggins. And so people don't realize that character has been around for decades. She's just not one of those renowned, iconic characters like Lois Lane to remember her, but she has been in the comics since like the 80s.
Right,
And
right.
but the way they use her in Supergirl is fantastic. I love it.
You know what gets me is people were complaining just to complain. They were saying that, oh, her super heat vision that comes out of her eyes should be red, but
No,
in the TV
no.
show it's white because white is
White
hotter
is
than
hotter
red,
than red.
Yeah.
Exactly.
right? I mean, come on, people. Let's use your brain
Yeah,
before you start complaining about
exactly.
stuff.
They're thinking lasers. They're not thinking actual heat.
Yeah, lasers, but a laser can be any color depending on
The
the
crystal.
heat.
Yeah.
Yeah, the crystal
If they
and how
wanted-
hot it is.
I was going to say, if they
You know.
wanted hottest, wouldn't it be blue? I thought blue was the hottest.
No, white is.
Is it
White.
White. remember
White
this
is
term- there's a
actually the
term,
hottest,
White
yeah.
hot.
Yeah, you're right.
You
White
know.
hot is like when you use those torches for cars.
So yeah, that's
No. But now I do love Supergirl. I love watching it. I think Melissa Benoist is a great.
Supergirl.
No, I was going to say a great actor for that role.
She's
They
awesome.
yeah, she is awesome.
I can't explain how excited I am to see her interaction with Grant Gustin as Flash, because they're both optimistic
Right.
characters. And I think it'll be really, because what I'm curious about is when he crosses over, so they hinted in the first episode that they made jokes about the Super Friends. So some characters, they do Martian Manhunter, by the way. Oh my God, what a great reveal. I mean, we could go on about that for a whole episode. because they did a great red herring, because Hank Henshaw
Mm-hmm.
is the cyborg Superman. So everybody assumed when his eyes glowed red that they were hinting, well, he's the classic villain cyborg Superman who's an astronaut who crashed and got rebuilt and became a villain cyborg Superman. Nope. He turned out to be Martian Manhunter, who had replaced Hank Henshaw. This is not really a spoiler, because if you haven't been keeping up with Supergirl up to this point, I don't know what to say. So I apologize, because this is old news. This is like
No,
several weeks ago.
why are you apologizing for something that people,
They should have. I mean, I'm not
neglect
going
to
to
have
spoil
done?
anything really recent, but this is weeks ago. It's so last few weeks ago. You know what I mean? So Hank Henshaw, but I think he'll come back as Cyborg Superman, still the real Hank Henshaw, because he
What
thinks
do you think of Bizarro?
I love that episode. She was
Yeah, that
great.
was a great episode, wasn't it?
I thought it was good. Oh, so here's another thing too. How much do you guys know about Maxwell Lord in what he did in the DC universe? Because there's a lot of things he did that changed the whole DC universe when it comes to Wonder Woman. Do you know what I'm even talking about?
I don't.
Nope.
All right, so I'm going to say it because it's not a spoiler, because it was in the comics. I think they're leading up to this in the show. In the comics, one of the most controversial things that ever happened in the whole decades plus, Maxwell Lord mind controlled Superman to go on a rampage and kill thousands of people. Okay, so Wonder Woman tried to stop him. The whole Justice League did, but he was on a rampage because he was being mind controlled. Wonder Woman finally got to find Maxwell Lord. She put the lasso of truth around him, and she asked him, "How do I stop what's going on?" He said, "The only way is to kill me." So with a camera on her, she snapped his neck and she killed him. Ended the whole thing. Superman went into a super depression because of what he did under his mind control.
Right.
Well, Batman fired Wonder Woman from the whole Justice League because of what she did. Even though he said and she was giving this big speech about, how can you fire me? There was no other way to stop him. I'm a warrior. We had to save billions of lives from what Superman was doing. He said, because I thought you were perfect up until now. And it shocked her. So she left the Justice League for a while. Because Batman was butthurt because his beautiful, perfect Wonder Woman committed the one act Batman is abhorrent to, which is murder. Even though it was to save billions.
Well, Superman also was like Batman. And, in the original comics, they didn't kill people.
But in this case, Wonder Woman has never been. She's a warrior. She's an Amazon, and she asked with the lasso of truth. She asked him, "How can I stop Superman? How do I stop this?" He had already killed thousands of people because of the rampage. He said, "You have to kill me." So she didn't even hesitate. She just broke his neck. But he had a camera on her, so the whole world saw it. And it caused in the DC universe, it caused a big controversy.
Well, all right, I'm outside looking in, okay? I've watched Wonder Woman since, what was that,
Linda Carter?
Linda Carter, okay? I've been watching Wonder Woman since I was a kid. I was in love with Wonder Woman. I remember one time I got in trouble, and I had to go to bed early, and I couldn't watch Wonder Woman, and I was praying to Wonder Woman she'd come and rescue me.
Oh my gosh.
Okay? That's how much I loved her. All right, now, okay, I get that. And now I also get Batman, and I also get Superman. They don't kill people. However, Superman you can't stop. He's out there murdering thousands of people. So would you kill one to save thousands? Or
that was the whole point.
That's the whole premise right there. So why are you hating on Wonder Woman?
This is why what I think is coming. And okay, there's a recent episode about 2 episodes ago called For the Girl Who Has Everything. It was a classic retake of a story that was done about Superman. It was also told in the Justice League cartoon, where that plant is controlling, on Superman, and he's making him dream all this stuff, and they had to figure out how to get him out of that dream state. Well, they recreated it on Supergirl. So they take some classic comic book stories and they reimagine them for Supergirl. Okay, so the reason I'm thinking this is coming is I think there's going to come an episode where she has to kill Max Lord. I think he's going to do something similar. Either he controls Supergirl and makes her go on a rampage, or he does it to her cousin and she has to kill him, and it causes all that media thing, and Cat Grant has to kind of defend her.
Right. But do you remember in the Man of Steel with
Zod,
Superman?
Yeah.
He fought Zod, and he killed Zod.
He
had to kill
controversy about that, but even Kevin Smith, who's a big comic financier, whatever you want to call it, he even said this was Superman before he learned what it was to be Superman. Before he didn't know he had other choices. He was noob. He didn't know what the hell he could do.
Right.
He was Zod was about to heat blast and vaporize a whole family.
Yep.
He had split seconds to make that decision. He made a decision, and according to a lot of people who like Jeff Johns and people who are into the lore, Superman has killed in his entire like 70 years plus or whatever. He doesn't want to kill, but he's not like Batman. The funny thing is, Batman has a stronger mortal stance against killing than Superman. But
Well,
if
the
Super,
reason being is because of his family. He saw
yeah,
his parents die right before his eyes.
but Batman, because of what he saw, he's always been like, you kill someone, I won't even talk to you. So someone like the Punisher, if he
Yeah,
was
but
in
that's
DC,
but Batman has issues. You get that, right?
yeah, yeah, he admits it.
You
He
think?
says
I
in the
mean, he
just
needs therapy. I
he
mean,
does in the
you could be
Justice League cartoon.
you could be a billionaire and still fucked up in the brain. I mean,
He said
screwed up in the brain, right?
when Wonder Woman was trying to date Batman in one of the episodes of the Justice League animated series, he says, "I'm a rich boy with issues, lots of issues."
Okay.
He says, "You're an Amazon with whatever, and I'm a rich boy with issues, lots of issues." And he was
Yeah,
worried about people getting to her through him, and she crushes like a concrete brick to prove. Any other
yeah. I
questions?
just don't get why, even now with the writers, with this issue where Wonder Woman killed that dude, and then now Batman kicked her out. I mean, as a superhero, somebody's going to die. Somebody will always die.
So I'm gonna bring this up real quick while we have a little bit more time, not a lot of time, but a little bit of time left in the show because you got to go at a certain time. I want to bring up, since we're talking about Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot or Gadot. I don't know how you pronounce her name. So you saw, I linked you guys, and I'm pretty sure you saw it, the preview of what's coming with Wonder Woman and Batman v Superman and her own standalone film with Chris Pine. How do you
Right.
guys feel about what? I mean, we have finally heard her talk in the newest Batman v Superman trailer, and people were worried about why haven't they made her talk in any of the trailers? Telling us it because she's not that good of an actress? Because they're going by the whole Fast and Furious thing. And my thing has been they hired her for a reason. It wasn't just because she looks good. What do you guys think?
Well, the initially when they said, "Yeah, we're gonna hire a gal," I was like, she better put on some weight. That girl's skinny, right? But she looks good in a costume. I don't know what they did, but Hollywood
In
movie
defense
magic
of
or something.
in defense of the skinniness, I will side with the fans who say it's got nothing to do with muscle mass. She's a mythical being. Was created the gods. Well, in the current New 52, and according to the producers, they're using this as her backstory. She is the daughter of Zeus, so she's a demigod. She doesn't
Well,
have to. You don't
actually,
have
if
to
you
have
really
muscle
want to know,
mass.
in the movie, she's actually 5,000 years old.
She's also the daughter of Zeus. In the original Wonder Woman, she was made out of clay. Okay, and the soul of one of the first woman ever murdered was put, according to George Perez in his '80s version of Wonder Woman, the reboot. They took the first soul of the first woman in the caveman days ever murdered by her mate, and put her soul into this clay recreation that the Amazons made. Okay, in the current New 52, Zeus basically boffed Hippolyta, the Amazon queen, and she gave birth to Diana. According to the producers of the current Wonder Woman movies, like Zack Snyder, that's the universe. That's the story they're going by. She is a demigod. She is the daughter of Zeus. You don't have to have big muscles. If you're the daughter of a demigod, you've got magical strength. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Kevin Sorbo didn't have big muscles as Hercules. But what I was saying is the actress herself, outside of being Wonder Woman, the actress herself is skinny. I
She
mean, she was
served in
like a
the
walking
Israeli
stick figure.
army. She did work out. She's got some tone. But
Yeah,
what I'm
so that's
saying
what I
is,
noticed. She did. She got a little bigger, which is awesome. The movie though with her, I have a feeling they're gonna span centuries of her history, and
they
then
were going to
there's
go
gonna
with World
show
War
where she
II.
loses someone dear, close to her, and then she doesn't want to fight no more, and then something happens where she comes back.
So from what I've gathered, they haven't confirmed this, but this is a lot of people's speculation. Chris Pine is playing Steve Trevor, and I think they're going to do what they did with the and since you are such a big Linda Carter fan, you'll remember how they did this in the old show.
Mm,
They started in the World War II. Lyle Waggoner played the original Steve Trevor, and then his
right.
grandson, who happened to look just like him, was her second love interest in the modern times when she came back to the man's world, right, for the new Adventures of Wonder Woman. they're going to do that again with Chris Pine. I think he's going to. They made it World War I because Captain America's already done World War II, and they didn't want to kind of seem like they were jumping on that same bandwagon, so they went back a little further. So I think what's going to happen is they're going to Chris Pine is Steve Trevor. They have a love story, and then she's going to come in the second Wonder Woman movie. They'll go either to World War II or they'll whatever. But there will be a grandson, just like in the old TV show, same role played by Chris Pine. Oh my God, he looks just like him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What
Well,
do you think?
what I was saying, I think what they're going to do in the movie is, see, in the most recent Empire issue, um,
Yeah.
Diana Prince, she's coming out of retirement in the dawn of justice because before she lost someone, I mean, and she's, after the thousands of years that she's lived, she's seen what all humans can do, and she just lost faith in humanity. It was very hard for her to, come back and fight.
Right.
So this is where she actually comes out of retirement
Because of Superman, what happened?
and starts. No, I'm talking about her movie that's going to be coming out. So
Oh,
this
in
is
World
my
War One. Okay.
prediction. Yeah.
What do you think, Chelle? You haven't said anything.
I was just listening. I don't follow a lot of that.
You don't have to.
What?
What's
The
your
one
general?
strong woman, independent woman, you don't
You
follow her?
know, growing up, Wonder Woman, a lot of little girls liked Wonder Woman. You know, there was Wonder Woman lunchboxes and like little underwears and stuff
Even
like
I
that.
dressed up as Wonder Woman.
But
I was a guy.
you know, I was always more, if I was gonna have a girl that I liked growing up, it was Storm. I grew up in the
Oh
age of
yeah, that's great.
X-Men.
That's a great character.
The X-Men comic book was huge. Wonder Woman was really before my time and after my time. So I
All right,
don't
that's fair.
have a strong opinion about her.
Well, how do you feel in general? Okay, you
I
don't have
think
to.
it's cool. I mean, I'm not, you're never going to catch me being the person who's all like, oh, go girl power. I mean, I think it's great that there's girl superheroes. I think that, I mean, there's always been girl superheroes. The comic book genre is one place that women have never really been left out of. So I don't think it's necessarily
You
as
know, it's
important.
funny you said that. There's a statistic that just came out. More women now are reading comic books than guys. They're
I
going
Interesting.
into
think
the
that's because more women read than guys.
well, because people are
Ever
starting.
since YouTube, guys don't read
Well,
anymore.
you know, Sean Connery, when he did the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, was shocked because he never read comic books. But when he was asked to play the role of Alan Quatermain, he read the graphic novel, and he was talking about this in the Today Show. He said, "You know, I was shocked because he's an educated man, and he didn't realize how comic books, graphic novels, if you actually just take away the pictures and read the words, they're very good novels. They're not just it's just the pictures add to what you're seeing. But it's like if you take away, it's like if a blind man just did he put his fingers on the whatever that's called, braille, you would get a good story out of what you're experiencing, not just the pictures. So he was like impressed. He never realized that comic books could be smart about the writing. He thought it was just for kids. That's a common bias that is out there. And when it comes to Wonder Woman or any other character, it boils down to the writing, and that's something a lot of people don't realize. You're used to seeing pictures, just like and saying, "Oh, well, little kids want to see people jumping around with swords or shooting beams out of their eyes or flying around." But there's actually a story. If you actually read them, like Kingdom Come, anything pretty much uh, with a lot of good writers, you're going to find the guy who did The Watchmen, Alec, help me out here.
Baldwin. I'm
No,
just kidding.
no, but you're going to find there's good stories to be told over the years.
Let me give you a little history on Gal Gadot. Now, this is really interesting. So,
Okay,
she is an Israeli actress, and
she was in the Israeli army
she
too.
was
Yes.
yeah, and she was in the IDF. So she knows how to fight. So I give that to her. Credit to her on that one. So she does have some skill.
All right. Well, you know what? I think that there's a lot of stuff. There's so many things that can be talked about with this current golden age of superheroes, as I call it. when it comes to movies, TV, cinema, whatever you want to call it. There's so many things that could be discussed. And that's why, hopefully, we're all going to be here every week and do an episode. We'll have different hosts sometimes because we want to offer people a chance to pipe in and get some interviews with certain people and hear what they have to say. But we want you guys to let us know which do you want us to narrow it down? Do you want certain things? Obviously, we didn't cover certain things. There's too many. Agents of Shield. I haven't kept up with that since like season 2 began. There's just too many things out there to keep up with. So if there's certain shows you guys want us to focus on, maybe talk about, let us know. How can you find us? Well, supergeeks99 at gmail.com is how you can do that. That's an email I opened up today. We're also on Twitter. Supergeeks9 is the Twitter thing. You can find us there. So if you have any suggestions, if you like what you heard, let us know. Thank you for joining us. I want to thank you guys for joining me.
Thank you.
I think this was a great first episode. I had a great time.
I had a good time as well.
We actually have somebody commissioning an original theme track for us. The one I used in the beginning was just sort of a filler because I don't know how much I can get away with for using someone else's thing. But you know what? I had a great time. So if you guys want to hear anything specific, just let us know, and we will talk to you next time.